Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our clandestine after show, The Assistant. Joining me tonight, as always, the man who is not only at the right side of my screen, but I consider my own right hand because of his intimate knowledge of me, Kelly Toole.
And it just gets creepier and creepier. Hi, everybody. This is Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. Pleased to be back to visit with Tony and Mike on our favorite web film.
And of course, Tony Solo.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Solo, and yeah, I'm glad to be back with you guys on a happy occasion. There's no crying. I think Dylan needs to take more of these hiatuses because he took a 1 week off. And we got 8 episodes, was it? Oh, we got 6, I think. I think Dylan needs to take another week off, and maybe we'll get 12.
I mean, I would hate for Dylan to take a week off, but I mean, certainly this has been a sumptuous orgy of Delonian proportions.
Yeah, and it's artistic bulimia to a certain degree, which is nice.
It is.
We were just filled with Lang this week.
It was it was almost an episode a day. It felt like, and there's lots to talk about. 4 new episodes. Reflection, Intruder, Angry, and Halloween.
Now, if I remember correctly, didn't Dylan post something online about Reflection being an episode that he was particularly proud of?
I believe he did. It was an impressive episode. What were your thoughts there, Mike, about
Well, as we discussed briefly prior to the show, it was interesting because it was the first episode that I can recall that really incorporated music. Now, Kelly had pointed out before that when Dylan went into the fortress, there was a quick clip of Journey playing in the background. So we don't know about that yet and how that's going to play into it. But this was the first one that used score music as a main point of the episode. So, of course, I found that interesting being a musician myself, and I was curious as to how Dylan intended that music. Also, too, I think getting to Dylan himself with this episode, Dylan was pushing himself a little bit further as an actor than he had in the previous episodes. Like, it felt little more drama, a little more tension. What did you guys think?
Well, so I thought, so there was the introduction of music in the previous episode, Bees, I believe, with the Journey. This was a much different deployment, and again, I think Dylan toys with us in that you notice there was the ambient sound going on through the first third of the episode, and then it stopped, and then probably about the last remaining third of what was left, it resumed again. And so, I mean, it became fairly obvious to me that Dylan paused the music for us to reflect in line with the title of the episode.
See, that's an excellent observation there. I was wondering if maybe it was because we were supposed to pay particular attention to what he was saying during that moment where the music was silent. But I like your play, though, that we're supposed to be reflecting on the entire thing.
I mean, Dylan's like Gacy's crawl space. There's layer upon layer upon layer to work your way through.
No, I agree, and I think we all really just want to get all up in Dylan's crawl space. What do you think, Tony?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna stay out of Dylan's crawl space for now. But I believe that the music did set the tone for the episode. It was by Bear McCreary. And if you ever go into Bear McCreary's IMDb and check out his massive amount of work across many different shows, most known for The Walking Dead and others, but it did set the tone, and it was a somber episode. I think it was again, yeah, I'll agree with you, Mike. He really was pushing the limits with his acting. But I think he what he did in reflection was he reflected and he summed up where he's been and where he is right now mentally. And so we're just going to have to wait and see how everything ends up, because we get the realization, or he tells us that he knows that he dies on Halloween, or he can die on Halloween, and if he does, it takes him longer to regenerate. He's got all the memories, plus he's getting visions, but he's retaining them, and he looks like he's made a decision that he's going to go forth by the end of it. It would have been interesting if the music would have changed at the end and had a lighter tone to it, but it was still very somber and slow and quiet. But yeah, I think. And he does mention that he is scared in this episode. But yeah, I agree with what both of you guys said, except the part about the crawl space.
Well, I mean, speaking of the crawl space, that does sort of lead us into the next episode, Intruder. Now, that was the following episode, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay, now, in Intruder, and I think maybe we had touched on this our last episode, we do see Dylan's private area violated. How did that make you guys feel?
It's jarring. I mean, it's you're watching an invasion at that point in time, so it's not an easy watch in terms of that. You don't know what's going to necessarily happen. A bit. I believe this is the first episode of The Assistant completely without dialogue, if memory serves. So.
It's also the first. I'm going to say the first completely without Dylan episode, because one of the thoughts that I had watching that was, because you can clearly see Dawn on one side of the bed, and there was somebody in bed next to Dawn, and we could assume that it's Dylan, and Dawn seemed to be so much bigger than the person that was beside her in the bed. So maybe we're being shown that Dylan really is not the 6'5" guy that I've been telling you guys that he is. Maybe he really is a midget.
Well, maybe that's just the character that he's playing. Maybe the character isn't really 6'5".
Yeah, because I think Dylan could play short. I don't think there's really any question he could play short. Or Dawn's 8 foot tall. I mean, that's another possibility as well.
Right, that's something we haven't explored yet.
Well, I kind of met Dawn, and I can tell you she's not 8 feet tall.
Don't forget, though, I mean, you have incredible actors like Gary Oldman, who in Tiptoes walked around with his knees and a pair of shoes pretending to be a dwarf.
And what's his name played a hobbit, right?
Correct.
And I'm a big fan.
I think
what's his name has been pretty outstanding body of work.
Yeah. Well, he's been in everything, all over the place. We've already covered what's his name's career. You should just DVR him. Just DVR him. Yeah. Google him. Look him up. Look at his IMDb.
A film starring what's his name?
Is he a midget, or is it special effects? It's kind of like John Travolta in that other movie that he played a giant in, but he wasn't. See, and
So
you know,
you're intentionally running a little light on specifics tonight, aren't you, Tony?
yeah, I might.
Saturday Night Fever?
No, oh, the L. Ron Hubbard book. Oh man,
Oh,
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. Yes, that was.
Riveting,
I had to.
riveting film.
I read the book and loved the book.
So I take it when you say you love the book, you don't feel the same way about the film adaptation?
I don't think anybody feels anything but hatred for the film adaptation of
Disagree.
that
You want an
movie.
excellent little double feature at home? I will program for you right now. Passion of the Christ followed by Battlefield Earth. Trust me.
Neither. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Should. You're
I
missing out.
believe the way L. Ron Hubbard wrote Battlefield Earth was it was written in like the 1950s, and I think it was written where it could be serialized if they were ever going to play it in a movie theater, like for Saturday matinees, because back in the day there used to be several ongoing serialized stories that they used to run, and each chapter ended in a cliffhanger, and the cliffhanger was solved at the beginning of the chapter, and then the next cliffhanger would happen. And that was basically, and this was every chapter of that book, just about. And, you know, it was a good read. It was a quick read. But, yeah, it was a pretty piss-poor adaptation of that book. But John Travolta, with special effects, did look like a freaky giant anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't know much about L. Ron Hubbard, but I'm pretty sure when he was writing that, and particularly his self-help stuff like Dianetics and all that, he imagined that someday his emissary would be a 9-foot-tall John Travolta with dreadlocks.
Yeah, beyond his mother living in a shoe, I know very little about L. Ron Hubbard.
He was very anti-psychiatry. He was very anti-psychiatry and any kind of mind-altering drugs, and that got extrapolated into...
I haven't read any of his books.
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know. That's what he was about.
Everything I know about Scientology I learned from South Park,
Which
and
is
I'm
pretty
not sure how credible they are as sources on Scientology.
So if you're not tweeting along, be sure to tweet along to Not Talking Ass on Twitter right now.
Right. Yeah, we're on L. Ron Hubbard. But anyway, so yeah, the intruder episode was really like a little bit freaky deaky to me, and at the beginning, you know, light comes on and you see some items, and I actually had to go and like I had to pause the video a couple of times just to see what was being shown, just in case there was some kind of item there that maybe was important. But the intruder seemed to know exactly where he was going because he went right up into the bedroom, and so have you guys? You know, you did say violated, but I mean basically, an object was used to touch Dylan's leg. Do you guys have any guesses to what that possibly could mean or signify?
Kelly, do you want me to go first, or do you want to jump in on this one?
Why don't you go first, Mike?
So, going back to, I believe it was the Bees episode, as Kelly said, when we heard that little bit of Journey. Now, up until this point, if you exclude the Reflections episode, there has been no incidental music used in the series up until this point. And then we have the Intruder episode, which, as we said, is a violation of Dylan's private area. Now, are you guys familiar with the classic rape revenge film, I Spit on Your Grave?
I think I may have seen it once.
And I mean the original, not the
ago.
remake. I'm talking about a 1970s film.
Familiar with, have not watched.
Okay. So it's a great movie if you get a chance to watch it. A little rough to watch, but good payoff in the end. So in that film, though, they use no score music whatsoever. and only in one scene before a very violent, dark portion of the movie begins does a character enter a building where there's music playing on the background in the radio. Just a song very similar to what happened in Bees, where somebody's just walking through a room and there's a song playing. And up until that point, there's no music used in the film. And it gives it an almost sort of like creepy documentary-ish voyeuristic quality up until that point, followed by this really dark, violent violation of the character's life and body and everything else. And I thought maybe that's kind of where Dylan was taking us with this.
So I see
Oh,
that.
wait, can I?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask Mike. I mean, music is usually a staple in the horror genre.
Typically.
So are there any other movies that stand out that have no music in them in that genre? I think like Blair Witch might be one of them, because that was supposed to be, all, first-person viewed type film,
Right.
point of view type thing. But I'm trying to think of, and sometimes if a movie doesn't have music, if it's a drama or maybe an action flick, you may not notice it. But I think it would stand out in a horror film if there was no, I mean, every killer had their theme song that used to play whenever it was supposed to be lurking, and you can go back to um, way back into the silent film days too. That type of stuff happened. But yeah, I'm just trying to think now, and I can't think of any movie that
There aren't many. Blair Witch Project, in fact, does have music in it.
It does.
It's very minimal, but there is a score in Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave is the only one I can really think of that actively, intentionally does not use music. And they do that so that when you get to the more violent scenes in it, they feel uncomfortably long and drug out. Like you're
Right, because you're not hitting that crescendo. Like when you reach the crescendo, it's over. You have no way of knowing when it's over. Interesting. And sorry, I cut you off, Cal.
No problem. So digressing back to Dylan Knows, or digressing back to Assistant, you mentioned, Mike, the spit on your grave kind of analogy. So I don't know if you noticed the time on the clock. It was 11:27. So 11. There's 11 players on a football team. The jersey Dylan wears on a regular basis is the Ravens. Number 27 on the Ravens was Ray Rice. So this is where I get concerned about, potential more harm coming to the house when you start to string all these, because it was no accident that it was 11:27 on that clock. I'm sure of that. So it's just another thing I picked up.
I didn't pick up the time on the clock, but if you go back to the Reflection episode, he said it was Devil's Night, which is, Halloween Eve. So this is just prior to midnight that an intruder had come into his house and touched him with this device. So, and again, there was an intruder, but Dylan doesn't know if this thing that happened in the intruder is actually an antagonist or not. I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't remember which talking assistant it was, but I think it was after we talked about Graveyard, where I postulated that possibly that the voices and some of the things that were happening around Dylan, like the bat, was maybe a future Dylan coming back to try and help him in this time. So is it possible that this was a Dylan from the future that has come back and done something to Dylan to help ward him, protect him?
It's not clear. And I mean, I think that's the rest of the story to unfold, because you don't know whether that was harmful or helpful what happened there. You just know it happened.
Well, we know from the follow-up episode that Dylan didn't take it as a positive thing.
No, because he was angry.
Yeah, he was angry because he felt that his private space was violated, and so that'll lead us right into angry. Um, and yeah, the other thing that we didn't mention that reflection was about 4 minutes long. Up to that point, um, Dylan was keeping the episodes around 2 minutes. He was keeping them really short, so reflection was a longer episode. Intruder, angry, and Halloween was in the 3 minute range, if I remember correctly. But Intruder and Angry were both very short episodes and well done. But what were your thoughts on Angry there, Mike?
Well, I think that Dylan's reaction is pretty standard for what anybody, in fact, maybe a little subdued for what most people would feel if they were in that situation. What about you guys? If you found a phone that showed you someone had been in your house, someone had been standing over your bed with your 8-foot wife in it, how would you guys feel about that?
Well, there's some questions that you have to ask, and first question you have to ask is, if you're only 6'5", why would you marry an 8-foot tall woman? She can never high heels, and you'd always look like a midget. But I'm going to say that's not the case because Dawn's not 8 feet tall. However, there had to be a reason that the intruder used Dylan's own phone and filmed the alleged attack or the invasion or the violation of the private space. Is it sending Dylan a message? Should Dylan be afraid? Or was it a message in a different way? Like I said, could this be a Dylan from the future who has traveled back and tried to help him and to show him? Because there has to be something, wondering if there's got to be some clue there, something there besides the time on the clock for the Ray Rice thing. That is going to move the story along besides just making Dylan angry. Why? That's the question we need to have answered. Why was this on the phone? That's my feeling. Kel?
Yeah. So I think, I'll come back a little bit to what Mike said, that it was more of a subdued anger, and I do think when you do have an 8-foot wife to protect you, you may get less excited about it from that point of view. The thing I was most excited about in the episode is he finally identified. We weren't really sure what was attacking him, but he clearly indicated that it was a demon, alien, being, crazy creature. And so it was good to know what it was.
Getting back to that, we're going to be talking about Halloween in a couple of seconds, I guess. But Dylan referred to that same creature as a demonic little alien shit. So, but I don't think Dylan needs to be scared as much as angry, because did you notice what was on his shirt? Did you notice the shirt that he was wearing in the Angry episode?
I did not.
Cat feces?
Go back and watch the episode. No, I'm a ninja. He was wearing an I'm a ninja shirt, or I'm ninja. So, go back and watch. Dylan's getting all ninja up in this bitch. So, I think we go from subdued, intruder, and now we're mad. I think at the end of Reflection, Dylan was determined to see things through and to find his TARDIS, and now he's been violated in the most nastiest way that any man can possibly be violated in his private space, and now he's angry. Oh, I think he's getting ready to turn this around and go on the offensive. And I don't think the choice of wardrobe was something that was not done purposefully on Ninja
It's a really
shirt.
good catch. That was an excellent catch. Now, Kelly, do you recall from your Doctor Who knowledge the Doctor's private space ever being violated?
Again, I always want to kind of qualify that in a relative sense, I am indeed the most knowledgeable Doctor Who fan on this broadcast, but that doesn't mean much. So I could be proven wrong here, and if we've got some Talking Ass listeners, or some folks who are turning into Talking God and still want to kind of hear some Talking Ass stuff, then they can kind of correct me. But to my recollection, from what I have seen in either the classic Doctor Who or the reboot, the private space has remained as such, and had been undisturbed.
Okay, so nobody has touched his dirty TARDIS.
Not that I've seen, but I think he's probably hinted that it's bigger on the inside.
Excellent stuff. Now, Tony, do you want to lead us into the next episode? Halloween?
Well, there was just a one quote that I wanted to, because it struck me right at the end of Angry, that Dylan said he's going to survive, and he said, "Take it to the bank. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine." And I'm really worried about him now. I'm really worried because we haven't seen another episode since the next episode, which is Halloween. And Halloween was an interesting episode, and I'd like to, I think I should tweet out to Dylan and ask him exactly what his costume was, what he was wearing, because
Now,
I couldn't figure
You kind of threw out an interesting guess to me and Kelly. Do you want to share that with the viewers?
Well, I couldn't figure out what it was, so because it looked like Dylan was wearing something big and blobby, I did say, and this was in jest to you guys, I did say I think Dylan was trick-or-treating as an abortion, and I'm sorry if anybody's offended by that, but actually I meant to say a miscarriage, because
I was going to say that's way worse than what you actually said.
Because you said, "Where's Waldo?" in the pre-show, which was
And now
the
it's
thing that's really
abortion?
throwing us now.
Wait,
No,
is that your code word for abortion?
I'm gonna be.
We need to go find Waldo.
I did say something. I say what I said, and I said, what the hell was Dylan in that costume? I couldn't figure it out. Yeah, my first observation was, is he like a half-eaten apple? I couldn't figure out because there's no color and I couldn't see the whole thing. But then at one point it looks like there's something like coming across the front, almost like you want to know something? Kelly, what did you say he was? A wiener?
I think he was a hot dog. I think a
wiener?
Dog. No, I said hot dog.
A wiener?
I said hot dog.
A wiener.
I said hot dog. I'm staying with hot dog.
Okay, you're staying with hot dog. That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
That's what I'm sticking with.
And personally, I wasn't ready to weigh in on it. I think that you guys both had interesting, if slightly divergent, theories of an abortion or a hot dog.
There's a continuum.
It's not the most
they are somewhat related
from one to the other.
Yeah.
Not the most direct path, but somewhat related.
Yeah, so maybe we will. Hopefully, Dylan's cruising the inner tubes and can get us an answer to the outfit. And I'm a little I cannot recall between whether it was the tail end of Angry or the front part of Halloween. But Dylan started to also go through a litany of, because he has kind of game on now and he's ready to go. And he was going through a litany of he was going to use his assistant powers, which are different than Doctor Who powers. He talked about spells, which is a little off of Doctor Who canon. So I think this is, again, the assistant's a different animal, or a different hot dog or something. And so there's spells, there's assistant powers.
On that note, real quick, not to cut you off, but if you were a punk band, Hot Dog Abortion would be an excellent name. Sorry about that. Keep going.
No, that was worth the wait to get that. And then he also mentioned doing some religious things as well. And so
God, I feel like we called it right here.
I think we're ahead of the game.
Yeah, some kind of religious things to ward things off, but I think some of that stuff happened did that happen at the beginning of Halloween? It's really difficult when there's so many episodes to talk about. He did say he had, he showed it. He was flashing it. His Sonic baseball bat is what he's calling the wiffle ball bat now. And again, there was was Dylan tripped by the demonic little alien shit? Don't know, even if it is. I don't know if we're going the alien route. I know Doctor Who has had some aliens in it, but getting back to the other thing that you said, because in Reflection, I think, going back to that one, I think he remembers his past lives, and he knows dying on Halloween for some reason. It takes him longer than other doctors to regenerate, but he's not a doctor. He's the assistant or an assistant, and it would take him longer.
Now, Kelly,
I guess because
I'm sorry, Tony. Continue.
No, I was going to ask that question. There are companions in Doctor Who. I think we've covered this before, but an assistant is something that is a Dylan contrivance for his series. An assistant can be something that is not a doctor, but more than a companion, but still a Time Lord, I'm guessing. But there is no such, lesser powered being, correct, in the Who universe?
Yeah, there's in the it's a continuum show tonight. In the continuum between companions to doctors, there's not been any sort of Java man intermediate life forms in the show, but I think that may be what Dylan is carving out here, is to say, what if someone was part doctor, part companion? But
and can we explore that a little bit? Because does a companion know that they're a companion, a sidekick?
I think the doctor leaves money on the dresser for him.
Right. Hey, look, if Mike and I were ever out at a bar, we'd be hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
No, that would never happen. But if we were ever hanging, let's say a bar or whatever, I can say that Mike is my companion for the night, but not a companion in the, Firefly universe type way. But, we're friends, we're buddies, we're dudes. How does one get the job of being, a flunky, like being an Igor? You're second fiddle to a doctor. Do they know that they're second fiddle to, dude?
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's the Batman effect in terms of this is a doctor, this is a guy that can travel through time. So yeah, you're hitching your wagon to this guy, but this guy can travel through time. So if you're not calling the shots, but you're on a pretty good ride. So uh, so there's awareness, that they're in that role, but you're hanging with somebody who can travel through time.
And what did you say Dylan was? A wiener, Kelly?
A hot dog.
You said he was a wiener, and he was actually, in fact, a hot dog.
He
Confirmed.
was a hot dog.
Yes, he was a hot dog.
Excellent.
Hashtag hot dog abortion. Get that trending on Twitter.
Yeah, that'll have to be just awesome.
Yeah.
That'll bust through election night hashtags.
Now,
I'm sure.
Dylan, I'm going to apologize. I couldn't figure out what you were. So I asked these guys what they thought, and you were, and, Mike said he thought you were a man coming out of the closet for the first time. Kelly said he thought you were a hot dog, and I couldn't figure out what you were. I said you could have been an abortion or a miscarriage, and that's what I said. So when these guys asked me to repeat it for the show, I did.
Well, it wasn't these guys who asked you to repeat it. I just would like to be clear. It was that guy who asked you to repeat it in the dark over there.
Okay, so I'm going to answer a question. Myrna wants to know if the demonic spirit following Dylan is from another life. We don't know, Myrna. We're just asking the same questions. You should direct your questions at Dylan, because we can only give our opinions and we can make guesses, but we don't know the answers to these questions because Dylan does not run his scripts through us first. I'm guessing.
No, Dylan is
Maybe
not
Mike.
running anything through us.
I think Mike.
But you should definitely direct them towards Dylan. Make sure you hashtag talking ass, and so that he knows it's related to this episode, you might as well go ahead and hashtag hot dog abortion on there as well.
Which I guess is the title.
I like hot dog miscarriage better.
No, hot dog abortion sounds more punk.
It actually does, which is the sad part. So,
I'm voting present on on these.
I've got a question for you guys. Big clue. At the end of the Halloween episode, the bag that Dylan finds, and the name on the bag is.
Jewel
You guys don't know?
Hospital.
You
Hospital.
don't know, Mike?
I don't remember.
Holy shit! Don't you guys watch these shows? Just come on.
Hey, I picked up the 1127. I watch them.
Gary. Gary was the name on the bag. Property of Gary. Who's Gary?
It's the city where the Jackson 5 grew to prominence and came from.
Gary,
It's
Indiana?
also SpongeBob's pet.
Yes, his snail. It was SpongeBob Snail.
And it's close
A
to
long-lost member of hot dog abortion.
Could be. Gary
Radar
could be
O'Reilly, Gary Berghoff.
That's right. Who is probably going to make a guest appearance on The Assistant soon, I hope, carrying a little clipboard so he can hide his fingers that's chopped off. But
He's not dead. He's available.
pretty much. Yeah, interesting thing though. At the end, that one just kind of cuts out, and that's on Halloween. And the point we're at now is we don't know if he's alive or dead, because that was the end of Halloween.
Well, to tie this back into Scientology, as I so often do, this show definitely has that serialized feel like you were talking about with Battlefield Earth.
Yes, it does to a big extent because there's no real big cliffhanger at the end of Reflection, but the story was stagnant at that point. It
Well,
was
Reflection was just kind of building up for the next episode in a way.
right, right. It was a build up and rehash, and
It was the
basically
foreplay, and Intruder was, the money
it
shot.
was the violation. Yes, there was the violation happening. Intruder, which at the end of again Intruder, again you have that object being thrust into Dylan, and then you have anger after that happening because not only was Dylan violated in that episode, but the perpetrator, the antagonist, actually filmed it. But was Dylan actually violated? We don't know. We don't know if he was violated.
Now, Kelly, what are your thoughts on the level of violation that Dylan received?
On a scale of 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to, like, really hardcore Eastern Bloc porn.
So there would at least have been an accent. I'll give it that. I'm not sure what number that, but I see there'd be an accent. It'd be accent level.
I can see that. Which explains his anger. Now, did the doctor ever, on the actual show, was he ever, what's a delicate way to word this, touched with a foreign object while he slept?
No, but it seems to me I have seen that before in something else, but not Doctor Who. But I cannot.
So you've seen before a man being touched with a foreign object and something else while he was in bed?
I haven't, but I thought somebody on the show had. So.
I getting back to the accents, I think an East German judge would have given that violation a 3, only because it was an American. I don't think it was a very...
Yeah. So, by the way, Mike, Myrna's using your hashtag, so I guess
Excellent,
there's
Myrna,
that.
thank you.
There's that.
She's using your hashtag. She's also apologizing by saying, I was told to do this by official pagan.
Even better.
But if you read
I do think we need to jump on a hot dog abortion official band t-shirt, though.
If you read the actual tweet, it says, I was told to do this by official pagan, hot dog abortion, talking ass is the evil spirit from a past life. So it kind of sounds like she's saying that talking ass is the evil spirit from a past life.
I could buy that. I could totally buy that.
What if this after show, which is not actually directly related to the assistant, is somehow worked into the assistant?
That would be awesome.
We would almost be like observers.
And Dylan could travel in time forward and watch a future talking ass and then know what's going to happen in the past.
That would be awesome.
So we've got a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up here. What do we need to know? We need to know if Dylan survived Halloween.
This time.
Right. Did he survive? I'm going to write these down. Did Dylan survive? I'm sure he did because he's tweeting, but I mean Dylan in the web series.
Yeah.
Did Dylan survive?
Yeah. Was he kosher? Was he kosher would be another question I'd like answered.
Was he kosher? Great question. Was he kosher hot dog abortion?
What was the foreign object rubbed on him while he slept?
I was going to write that down next. What was Dylan, should I say, violated with?
Sounds good.
And was he actually violated or was it, like I said, it could have been one of those two-edged swords, or not a two-edged sword. We don't know which way the sword
Double-headed
cuts on
sword?
this. Uh, yeah, kind of. I mean, well, we don't, it's not a double-headed sword because we don't know. It could have been a very good thing that happened to Dylan or a very, very bad thing. We don't know if it was a violation or a healing or a protection. So, that's a question that we need to have answered. On, what should be at the top of the list?
How tall is
What?
Dawn?
No. What and where is his TARDIS?
Absolutely. We still haven't gotten to the bottom of that one yet.
And we have jokingly played around with things that we like to be the TARDIS. One of my favorites still has to be that smart car that we saw at the very beginning, because I think that would just be funny. But the smaller, the better. It'd be great if like one of Dylan's neighbors got like a new refrigerator. And did you guys ever play with a refrigerator box when you were a kid?
Not when I was a kid, but when I was around 30, it was a particularly dark time in my life.
Okay. So
And
Kelly, you never played with a
we lived on the road as hobos and really never had the need for a refrigerator.
You just rode the rails?
Rode the rails, killed squirrels.
I'm not even talking about an actual refrigerator. I'm talking about the box it came in with.
Yeah, we dreamed of owning a refrigerator box, but it wasn't in the cards.
That used to be something that would give us a day of fun living in the streets of Brooklyn, and any kid living in an urban area would tell you, especially back in the times when I was growing up, how much fun a refrigerator box could be.
See, I missed out on so much when I was a kid. We just drank and had sex.
Well, before I was drinking and having sex, I was playing with refrigerator boxes.
What age are we talking about?
Talking about like 8 and 9, but I know you started when you were 5.
I was going to say I stick by my original statement.
Yeah, because your grandparents took you to see Black Sabbath when you were in kindergarten, right?
I was a little older than kindergarten, but yeah.
I remember. Okay, first grade.
So, how awesome though, getting back to that really quick, how awesome would it be if somehow this show was acknowledged in The Assistant?
Oh no, this show doesn't need to be acknowledged in The Assistant.
I politely disagree. I absolutely want to mention it.
Oh, I just don't want to mention. Not at all.
Well, not as the show, but like, what if he mentioned that there are people watching him who are
about him.
Yeah, talking about him, who are sort of omnipotent observers.
Yeah, but that would make him sound paranoid. You know,
he's got paranoia sense.
If Dylan had our pictures in heart-shaped frames somewhere in the background of one of his episodes, that would be great.
So that's better for you than a mention of us.
A headshot of me in heart-shaped frame, and then another frame with you and Mike together in a heart-shaped frame. Both of you, like, profile of Kelly facing right, profile of Mike facing left, and almost touching at the lips. I think that would be extremely appropriate.
You've dwelled on that a little bit, haven't you?
No, I have not. I just thought of that crap right now.
I don't know.
This is an image that goes into his head often.
I see that like sketched out 40 or 50 times in a notebook.
If we wanted to be observers in the fringe sense of the word, we'd all have to shave our heads and wear stupid fedora hats.
Done. I'm doing it.
Okay.
So
I'll shave as soon as
Dylan puts us in the show, we have to shave our heads. Is that what we're hearing?
That's fine. I'll join the man.
Yes, you and Mike have to shave your heads.
Oh no, this is all for one and one for all.
And then you guys got beards, I don't.
Okay.
so I can't shave.
I have no idea what that has to do with shaving my head, but I'll still shave my head and wear a hat.
Yeah, I can't. It's not gonna happen.
You don't like fedoras?
No, actually, I don't like fedoras, but I wear ball caps all the time.
I'll have to
Lots.
think about it.
Dylan,
Might be
I'm
willing
just
to do
saying
it.
I'll do it.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't
is
know.
there
I'm
anything
scared.
else to,
We haven't gotten. No, just that we haven't had an episode since Halloween, and Dylan said there may be a slight delay um, for the next couple of episodes, but I do not have anything else that I think we want to throw out there.
Kelly, do you have anything else?
I do not. Not for this week.
Well, do you just want to go ahead and stitch this one back up then, and we'll reconvene here as soon as Dylan shoots another hot assistant all over us?
That sounds good. Did we come up with a sign-off that you can send us away with, Mike?
There was one that was suggested by the McGivens last week, and you already said it once tonight, Kelly.
No short-term memory. Sorry. Doesn't happen.
I believe it was the talking ass. We're bigger on the inside.
Well, Kelly, take us out.
That's not my job.
Well, in that case, then, I'm going to jump all over this. Make sure you guys tweet about this, hashtag TalkingAss, and if you're specifically referencing tonight's episode, hashtag HotDogAbortion. And for myself, Tony, and Kelly, we are bigger on the inside.